Hello, I'm Dave Kelkinoff, and today we were going to be discussing law enforcement issues over the internet.
I'm Vin Gata, and I will be arguing the con of law enforcement issues on the internet.
And I believe truly that law enforcement or police officers can use the internet in a professional way to seek out, criminal activity over the internet. Whether it's a pedophile or somebody that is bad in the area, they can try to seek out that criminal.
Right, but while they're looking for criminal activity on the internet, such as piracy or pedophilia, as you mentioned, um, there have also been instances where police officers have used the internet for other means, such as blowing off stress, like in a forum type situation. One of the articles that the professor supplied to us delved into how certain officers have been found saying things such as pretty much negative remarks to citizens, and how certain cities have gone completely bad and they should just nuke it and start over, stuff to that effect, which goes against everything that a police officer is supposed to stand for. But I feel that with freedom of speech, they should be allowed to vent, especially in an open forum. I understand they're police officers and they're supposed to be held to a higher standard than everyone else, but they're human, and everyone needs a place to vent. And if it just so happens to be an anonymous forum for a police officer, who's to say that they shouldn't have that right as well?
Well, I mean, I'm all for them having emotions and stuff like that, but the internet is not the place to vent out your emotions because people can read that stuff, and then the law enforcement they aren't in the light that they need to be in. People see them in a different way, and it's no longer serve and protect anymore. It's is this police officer a good person? Because if police officers, they have to remember that they are representing the community, and that they don't want to look bad in front of other people. So if their motto is to serve and protect, they have to have a positive outlook on life all the time. And the community, the community isn't not going to want them to look down upon them or be them, let them be in a bad light at all, because that was so negatively on police officers in general.
Right, but their occupation as a standard practice is high stress, high risk. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line daily for the average citizen, and if they have a bad day, I understand they need to still have that head on their shoulders that they're not going to use unreasonable force against a kid that pulls out a water pistol. But why shouldn't an average officer be able to let off some steam and say, yeah, I had a crappy day at work, I'm mad? Like, everyone exaggerates every now and then. You tell your friend, yeah, I'm going to kill you, like you're mad at them. Do you actually kill them? No. If a police officer says, yeah, let's nuke the whole city and start over, everyone's bad, I mean, come on. He's obviously had a bad day at work. He's exaggerating a little bit. I think that article kind of took it a little too much to heart, the things that some officers said. Yeah, it might look bad on the officer's part, but they're human. I feel like it was kind of blown out of proportion. You swear an oath, and just because you have a bad day and you say a couple things, I don't think it makes the officer a bad person, or makes it any less of a police officer.
I mean, it doesn't make the officer necessarily a bad person. However, it can make him look not. He may not get the respect he gets the next time he's on the street. If he wants to be elected as sheriff, he may not get elected as sheriff because he's already represented himself in a bad way, because he, has negative comments. He's blogging negative comments over the internet, and that makes him look bad. And it's a way to not be negative over the internet. You just can't do it. You can't be talking bad about a criminal that you arrested, or somebody that shot a bullet at you. You can't be doing that because um, in the long run, it doesn't help you at all to talk negative over the internet because it's only going to be bad, and the police officer, will get in trouble for it.
I understand that. I mean, we've said previously, anything you put on the internet's there forever. But if you're venting in an anonymous forum as a police officer and you're doing it anonymously, I don't see anything wrong with that. A lot of the quotes that were in that article were on an anonymous forum. There was no name attributed to that, so it couldn't have gotten back to that officer unless someone actually dug into that and looked at an IP address, researched it. But I mean, I'll say it again. It's a high risk, high stress profession, and if you don't have a way to blow off steam, it's just going to get bottled up in them. And personally, I'd rather have a police officer be venting on the internet than bottling it up and at the drop of a hat just go bananas over a small thing. It's
Well, I think that
it's
officer should talk to his wife or talk to his family in person, as opposed to talking over the internet, because over the internet it gets broadcast and people have access to it. They people have ways of getting to websites that you don't even know how they get to it, but they have access to you know seeing what police officers are, because they're kind of in the public eye because they're there to serve and protect, and people might know them because they're in the community and stuff. So they have to represent themselves well. In order to do that, they can't be making negative comments over the internet, regardless of the criminal matter at hand.
right. I would like to discuss a little bit about the oath that they swear and how that I feel like comes into play with this, and the feeling of ethics as they're if the police officer does make comments on the internet like this. Do you think that it's breaking their code of conduct and their oath of honor to be doing this?
Yes, I do feel that it breaks the code of conduct and their oath because a lot of things are supposed to be kept in house. Like a team in the Oklahoma City Thunder or something like that. Whenever they're talking and they don't want to keep anything out in the public. They're supposed to be team oriented, so the things that stay with the team stay in the locker room. It's very similar in the police or law enforcement agency. Things that get discussed amongst the police officers are supposed to stay within the police office headquarters. They're supposed to stay in house. You don't want to have any negative publicity. For the police station. At all. So it's best to keep matters that are police office issues in house and not let them stray away too far, because you don't want to have a bad public rep within the community.
Fair enough, but I still don't think that it's completely unethical for them to be able to do that. I think it's their right. I mean, granted, you're right. A lot of matters should be kept in house and shouldn't be spoken about outside the police office. But again, they're human. Everyone needs a place to vent, a time to vent. Maybe they should do it to their friends and family. But if someone chooses to do it on the internet, I don't think it should be grounds for dismissal for an officer, as may have been the case in a few of those instances. I think everyone deserves a second chance, and if it's brought up to an officer, hey, you made these comments out there, you need to own up to them. A public apology could be issued, that type of thing. I don't think it's completely unethical to go against that. Everyone slips up now and then, regardless of the circumstances. And I mean, it's a police officer. They're here to serve and protect, as you said, and they deserve a second chance. If it's not a major mess up, why not let him move forward and not get dismissed as an officer?
I hear your point, but again, those police officers are in the public eye, and they don't want to have a bad representation, because they're there to serve and protect the community, and if the community looks down upon the police officers, then why have a police officer there to serve and protect you? So, but as we close, let's have some final thoughts. Vin, let's have some final thoughts from you as far as police officers and law enforcement over the internet.
Overall, I feel that police officers venting on the internet isn't a completely unethical thing. I think they are human. They have their faults, regardless of the high standing in our society. And everyone needs a place to vent, to blow off steam. Everyone does it, and I don't think it should be taken as harshly as it has been outlined in that article.
True. And my final thoughts is that I just believe that regardless of if police officers have room to vent, they don't need to vent over the internet. The internet should be used as a sanctuary to get their mind off things, and they could, communicate about other things other than criminal activity. They can vent in person to somebody they know and vent that way outside of the internet realm. So, that they, in order to represent themselves well, they don't need to blog negative comments over the internet. And as we close, my name's Dave Kelkinoff, and today I was arguing the pro side of law enforcement issues over the internet.
And I'm Vin Gaeta, and I was arguing the con side of law enforcement issues on the internet.
Have a good night.